We are change agents. I am a change agent.
I'm a change agent.
Once again, welcome to the Faith Alive broadcast as we continue our series on relationships, love, and sex. I want to talk to you today about how to actually make the right relationship. You know, there are many people out there that are operating kind of undercover, portraying themselves one way, but actually their motives are not pure. Many people get into relationships and they wish that they would not have afterwards. And if they would have noticed some signs, some red flags beforehand, they probably wouldn't have made those connections. Listen, this message is entitled Smooth Operator. I want you to be able to know the signs and keep yourself out of a relationship that you don't want to be in and don't want to have the grief of a relationship that was not God ordained. Listen to this message, Smooth Operator.
It's all right. That's what they do. So they can't even go into prayer. And let me tell you something, and I speak now from experience. You may not see much need for prayer now, but in your marital life, there'll be some occasions where you need some prayer, and you're going to want your spouse to pray with you and for you. When you're dealing with something and you just want somebody to just pray for me. You got sickness in your body, babe, I just need you to pray. But that unbelieving spouse is not going to pray for you. They don't know how to intercede on your behalf. And there's some things that you're going to want to pray about together. Things with your children, things that you need a decision from the Lord on. You want to pray together and that God will direct you the right way to go. But if you're unequally yoked, you don't have anybody to come in agreement with you. So the unequal yoke hinders that aspect of your priesthood. So here are 5 clear principles to marrying the right person. 5 clear principles to marrying the right person. Genesis 24. Now, time will not allow me to really examine the passage, but I'm just going to give you these points as we go through and tell you the verses. And in this passage, this is a passage that when there was a search for Eliezer on Abraham's behalf for a wife for Isaac. The search. Eliezer is on the search on Abraham's behalf for a wife for Isaac. So the first thing is commit yourself to the principle of separation. Commit yourself to the principle of separation. Genesis 24, verses 1 through 3. It says, And Abram was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abram said unto his eldest servant of his house, that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell. So he gave him some direction. So if you meet someone you're crazy about, try to purposely limit the amount of time you spend together at first. This will help you not to be overwhelmed and blinded by your emotions and your hormones. Character can only be tested over time. Don't have sex or anything close to sex until you're married. Don't have sex or anything close to sex until after you're married. Secondly, conduct your search among the right people. Conduct your search among the right people. Verse 4 says, But thou shalt go unto my country and unto my kindred and take a wife unto my son Isaac. If you meet someone you're crazy about, if you want a good Christian husband or wife, no use looking in worldly places. You have no business going to the club, going to the bar, trying to meet somebody. Try looking in church. But if you're looking in church, you need to be looking for someone that's born again. Because everybody in the church ain't saved. Some people just looking for somebody. I remember growing up when my brother was in college, he went to the Pentecostal churches. Let me go find me a good Pentecostal woman. I said, what you want to do with a Pentecostal woman? You know you ain't right. You ain't right, but you want to go and get somebody and defile them. Look for someone who's born again. But in the church, there's no guarantee that they're really a Christian. The only way you can truly know is by examining that person and praying. That's how you know, to see the fruit of their life. Thirdly, cloak your situation in prayer. Cloak your situation in prayer. So many times people aren't praying about a situation. But verse 12 says, and he said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, I pray thee, send me good speed this day and show kindness unto my master Abraham. Behold, I stand here by the well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city come out to draw water. And let it come to pass that the damsel to whom I shall say, let down thy pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink, and she shall say, drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. Let the same be she that thou hast appointed for thy servant Isaac. And thereby shall I know that thou hast shown kindness unto my master. And it came to pass, before he had done speaking, that behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. So cloak your situation in prayer. Let your friends and family, people you trust, get to know the person and ask them for their honest opinion. Even if you really don't want to hear it. Because many times we don't go asking because we really don't want to hear what they have to say. Because we already have our mind made up that this is the person. This is the person you're going to get married to. I just love him. And he just does nice things for me. He buys me this and he opens my door. That's the one. Your family and your friends will generally be more objective than you. And they want you to be happy. At least we hope so. There is safety in a multitude of godly counsels. Proverbs 15:22. No matter how difficult it is, take their opinions into consideration and pray about it. I remember when our oldest son, Calvin, was talking about he had met this young lady. He wanted us to meet her. We were like, okay, all right, son, bring her to the house. He brought her to the house and told us. And then he went afterwards, after they left and everything, he called back. So what do you think? We gave him our opinion. And he was like, okay. And then later on, he came back and said, yeah, I want to marry this young lady. And we were like, okay, that's what you want? Yeah, we were like, okay, you got to go through some counseling to make sure. And he was like, all right. So we don't tell y'all nothing. We don't tell our own kids. We told them the same thing. This is what you need to do. And we're going to tell you about what we think. But ultimately, the decision is up to you. The decision is up to you. But you have to be led by God. But so often, people have already gone into the situation the wrong way because they've already had intercourse. They've already had sex with the person. So now there's this soul tie. And so you really can't be very, very objective about this matter. Because there's already something connecting you because that physical act makes a connection there. And so you can't really, really think things clearly because you be like, oh, but I just love how they made me feel when they did this. And so then you're no longer objective about the situation. So they can have a real bad attitude, but you start overlooking it because of a feeling that you had. Don't let others make the decision for you, even if there's a thus saith the Lord. Because people try to do that. The Lord told me you were going to be my wife. The Lord told me you were going to be my husband. Oh, I hear the Lord saying. And then you get all tangled up in that. But did God tell you that? Did you really hear from God? See, you can't allow people to tell you that and think, oh, it's of God. It's of God. They said God said it. They could just be lying. Just trying to put that little God stamp on it. Like people who say, my season is up. The Lord said my season is up. That is so abused. Fourth thing, concern yourself with virtue. Concern yourself with virtue. Eleazar looked for a girl who was kind, sexually pure, and submissive to her father. He looked for someone who was modest. She covered herself at first sight of Isaac. So that's what you have to look for. It's important to be physically attracted to your mate. Yes, it is. But it's a bonus if you have a lot of things in common. But in a person's character is far and way more important factor in finding a good mate. That's more important. So never skimp and say, well, you know what, that can change. And some people do that. They have that fairy tale mentality that, you know what, I don't like this about them. I don't like that. But, you know, that can change. You know, I can work with them. Well, then you're already going into the relationship wrong. Because you're going in with the matter of I'm going to change them. See, when we go into marriage, we have to be going into the marriage saying that I accept you for who you are, who God created you to be, and not going to trying to change them up. Because basically when you're trying to change them, you're saying you're not satisfied with how God made them. So if you're not satisfied with how God made them, then why you get married to them in the first place? So if you knew you wanted somebody that can cook and clean, then that's who you should have married. Don't get married and think, well, after we get married, they're going to cook and clean because they're going to want to keep me. No, it don't happen. It don't happen. That's a fairy tale. That's a fairy tale. They may be just waiting for you to make some money so you can hire the maid and hire the cook and all of that. So stop living that fairy tale. Last thing, convince yourself of God's will. Convince yourself of God's will. Verse 27, it says, and he said, blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who have not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I being in the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren. So get good premarital counseling. Consider pre-engagement counseling. Pre-engagement counseling. Because, we do premarital counseling. But what about pre-engagement? Before you even say, I'm going to put a ring on it. Because in some states, once you give them that ring belongs to them. And you may have spent so much money on it. And you out thousands of dollars because they got the ring. Some people, they don't have to give you the ring back. So consider pre-engagement counseling. Now, we're not just talking about, getting a little rubber stamp. Ooh, stamp of approval. We went through counseling. No. We've done counseling and pastors told people, I don't think the two of you should get married. And they got married anyway. Yep, courthouse. They got married. And we're like, well, we didn't put our stamp on it. We didn't say that you should do it. Yes, if y'all want to do it, go ahead. If your pastor doesn't have time to thoroughly delve into issues with you, find a good, godly counselor who does. It is well worth the time. Good premarital counseling can also help uncover some of the red flags or danger signs, which are character deficiencies that can be devastating to a marriage or a relationship. So, 8 danger signs to be aware of as you search for a mate. 8 danger signs. 1 is the person addicted. Is the person addicted? Now, it sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised what people overlook when their emotions get involved. Person addicted to drugs, and they think, well, it'll be broken. No, it's not going to be broken. God can do it, but here they are taking all the money to go buy their drugs. Or they're a sex addict. They go to the strip clubs and go places where they can have that desire fulfilled. Secondly, is the person serious about following God? It's a danger sign if the person is not serious about following God. You must determine this by their actions more so than their words. Because people can say, well, I'm a Christian and, I love the Lord, but what about their actions? Words can be cheap. If the person is not living for God currently, but says they want to follow God, take an objective look at their life. Are they heading in the right direction? Why are they not living for God now? What evidence, not just words, do you have that this will change in the future? Beware of the person that says, I want to live for God, but I just can't without you. I want to live for God, but I can't do it without you. If they can't live for God without you, they can't live for Him with you. Before you marry this type of person, you want to see real, lasting, measurable change in their life over a period of time. If you don't see it before you get married, you probably won't see it after you get married either. And I had this relationship with a person, my son Jeremy's father. And he used to tell me that all the time. Oh, yeah, we married and, yeah, I'll go to church and everything. I'm like, I was praying and the Lord was like, you fool. What? You think he gonna really change after you're married? Look at what he's doing now. And I was like, Lord, you're right. That's fine. And then I was all caught up into this thing because I had sinned and thinking that, I got a ring on. It's okay. I believe that lie that it's okay to go ahead and have sex and engage in sex and then got pregnant. And then I'm like, okay, here I am. Should I just go ahead and marry him and put up with this because I got a ring and I'm pregnant now? And the Lord was like, no. And I was like, okay, Lord, I'm not going to do it. Because so many people, they get all caught up into that. Well, my baby need to have a daddy. So I'm going to go ahead and marry this person, knowing they ain't right for you. And then now you find yourself just in a big old mess and wondering how you're going to get disconnected from it. And I would have been such a fool to go ahead and get involved in it because he was the one type of person that's saying that, I can't live with Christ without you. And became a fatal attraction for me. Kind of point that I had to call him on my wedding day to let him know I'm letting you know I'm getting married today. Because he was trying to kill me because they want me to be with nobody else. If he couldn't have me, couldn't nobody else have me. That was his mentality. And so you have to be careful of that. That's a danger sign. Thirdly, the person is dishonest. Another danger sign. The person is dishonest. Does the person lie to you? Does he or she hide parts of his or her life from you? Is he or she overly secretive? Dishonesty is a major marriage killer because it destroys trust. It is a serious character flaw. A serious character flaw. Fourth danger sign. The person can't keep a job. The person can't keep a job. This can be an indicator of a poor work ethic or some other character flaw, such as irresponsibility or rebelliousness. Again, what you see before the wedding day is probably what you will get after you're married. It's an indicator. Take a good look at how your prospective spouse functions in various environments, such as work or church. If there's a pattern of failures or broken relationships, be careful. Don't blindly swallow the excuse that it's always the fault of the boss, the pastor, the friend, etc. If the same issue keeps happening, what's the common denominator? If it's you, then you know you're the problem. What is the same in all the scenarios? The fifth danger sign, the person demonstrates a severe lack of financial discipline. Lacks a severe lack of financial discipline. Does he or she have a healthy attitude towards money? Is he or she a good steward? Does your prospective spouse have a lot of debt? Get a credit report before you get married to him. Especially women, when you get married to them and you take on their name, now their credit is your credit. So whatever's on their credit report is on y'all credit report. So if they have a lot of debt, you want to find out why. That way y'all can collectively work together to resolve it. If what you see concerns you, discuss it before you make a lifelong commitment to be joined at the hip financially with this person. Because there's some things that will hinder you from making some progress in things that you want to have, some goals you plan to achieve. 6, danger sign. The person refuses to acknowledge his or her own mistakes or faults. They refuse to acknowledge his or her own mistakes or faults. Often the tactic of blaming others is used here. Be careful. I would think long and hard before considering marrying a person who cannot be honest about his or her own shortcomings. As issues come up in the course of the dating relationship, each partner should begin making sincere, heartfelt efforts to correct areas of his or her life that fall short of being Christ-like. Our counsel is this: before the marriage, we would like to see both partners, one, identify and confess an area of weakness in their life that is harming the relationship. Secondly, take the matter to God and thoroughly exhibit real, lasting, positive change. This does not mean that your spouse must be perfect, because no one is. But you want to see that each partner is willing to work on issues and has enough of a relationship with God that they are able to demonstrate real change. Believe me, more problems will surface later. So if you don't deal with some things early on, you're not going to be able to handle the problems that come later on. But if you deal with it early on, you'll be able to handle whatever comes later. And there's confidence that both of you are committed to facing and working through Jesus Christ. You're confident in working through that situation together. Because if you're divided on the thing, it's going to be so much harder to overcome that. And in marriage, there are certain challenges and situations that you have to deal with and you have to come together on. The Christian life is one of continuous growth. Marry someone who is committed to that process of becoming more like Christ every day of his or her life. And be one with yourself. 7th dangerous sign: the person treats others disrespectfully. The person treats others disrespectfully. If they treat you badly while they're still trying to win you, it's likely to only get worse once they've sealed the deal. Real love treats others with respect. So if they already mistreating you, calling you out of your name now, nothing's going to change afterwards. It's only going to get worse. And the last danger sign, the family past. The family past. What is the person's family like? What significant events occurred in a person's past that will leave you doubtful of a successful marriage? Was the person a drug addict before you met? Did the person quit drinking or doing drugs in order to be accepted by you? You know, in order for you to love me, I'm going to quit these drugs and everything so you can accept me. What does your observation of the family tell you about the person? Because you have to consider you'll be marrying into the family. And so that could tell you something about the person. How do they interact with their family? If that's a problem there, that's going to be a problem in your marriage. And then you're married and I ain't going to your folks' house. You know, you going by yourself. And that's division right there. Here's the key to the whole thing. It doesn't matter how you explain it or how you excuse it. It is never God's will for you to marry an unequal yoke. It's never God's idea for you to get connected to a smooth operator. So in closing, let me speak to those of you who are still single and say this. And I say as someone who has been there before. If at this present moment there is a bond between your heart and that of an unbeliever, you need to flee to God's throne of grace. You need to acknowledge your sin to God and seek grace to immediately renounce it. You need to get out of that situation. Regardless of what it may cost you, Sometimes women are, living with someone and that's an unbeliever and they feel like, well, I don't have a place to go. What am I going to do? You need to find a way to get out of that situation. Find a friend that you can go and move into the house with them that allow you to stay with them until you can get your finances and things straight so you can be independent. Find a family member, somebody where you can go. That's what you need to do. Flee. Regardless of what it may cost you, let the tie be completely cut so that your soul may escape from the snare of the wicked one. It is better to have a moment of heartbreak now than to suffer a lifetime of heartbreak later. And may God bless you and minister you and cause you to be the kind of Christian He calls you to be for His glory.
Pastor Hooper here, and I want to thank you once again for tuning in to the Faith Alive broadcast. Listen, if this message has been a blessing to you, I'd like for you to text us. That information is on the screen. We also would like to know where you're viewing this broadcast. Now, if this broadcast has been a blessing and you're in need of help, I want you to know you can contact me on that also. There's a special keyword that you can text. That information is on the screen also. And I will get your prayer request. It'll be confidential. Only I will get it, and I will reach out to you to help you with what you need. Now, this broadcast does require funds to stay on the air. I'd like for you to be considering sowing a seed into this ministry to help us stay on the air. This broadcast goes out to thousands of people in the area. And if you want to see this broadcast stay on the air, then please partner with us. Now, there's no substitute for being here live in service with us. The service on television may be enjoyable to you, and perhaps you've streamed our services also, but there's nothing like being here in person. So I'd like for you to come out. I'd like to meet you. I'd like to shake your hand and just get to know you a little bit better. I want you to come on out and worship with us at the Household of Faith. I want to let you know what you need is in the house. Tune in next week. We look forward to meeting you. God bless.